Hi, my name is Oliver, and in this video I'll teach you how to create this animated abstract gradient using the text animation pack from AEjuice in After Effects. So let's jump right into it. So to get started, I have this blank canvas, and really all you need is a color palette. So I've picked these 4 colors. We have this sort of beige, a blue, orange, and then this brownish dark color. And you can choose the same colors as me, or you can pick your own color palette. It's really up to personal preference. So we can start out by creating the circle that sort of encapsulates the animation. Do that by going up to the rectangle tool here, clicking and holding, and just find the ellipse tool. Then we can click, hold down Command and Control and Shift, and drag it out to create a perfect circle. And when you have done that and you want to line it up, just open the Align tab and make sure it's all lined up. And now we can choose the color for this. So I'll go to Fill, just use the eyedropper tool, and here I'll pick the sort of beige color. Click OK, and we can just call this the main circle. So now that we have the circle, we want to create the gradients within the circle. And you may think that this is a hard process, but really it's quite simple. So what we want to do is create a bunch of smaller circles within this circle. And then we want to select all of the different colors. Now we'll go up to the ellipse tool again and start creating these circles. So I'll just drag them out and select a new fill each time. So really I only want to select the beige color, the blue and the orange. And when we're doing this, we can actually take the main circle, press T as an opacity, just turn it down so we can see what we're working with. So I have this circle and I can go ahead and create a new one. Make sure this is not selected when you're doing it though, because you want to create it on a new layer. And really this is just a process of creating a bunch of different circles with different colors. And then we'll see how it looks and we can adjust it afterwards. So you'll keep on repeating this and just choosing new colors each time. And you just really choose these colors at random. It doesn't really matter if there's any specific order to it. There doesn't have to be. So I'll just create a bunch of these until I feel like I have enough. And then we'll go on with the process. So I think one more should be fitting. Maybe one right here. Just choose that last color and press OK. So now we have the different circles, and we can take every single one of these and select them all, right click and pre-compose, and we can just call this circles. So when we've done this, we can open up the pre-comp, and now we want to animate them. So for this step, it's quite crucial that all of the anchor points are placed in the center. So we can go down here, open up the title and action save so we can see the exact center. And when I select all of the circles, you can see that they're already in the center, because when I created them, I didn't move them around. So that's something you have to be aware of, because if I were to move this, then of course I would also have to adjust the anchor point by going up to the pan behind tool, clicking and dragging it to the center. But I have all of them in the center now, so that's all good. And now we want to create some rotation for these. So we'll just select the first one, press R as in rotation, Alt or Option click the stopwatch, and here we want to type in the expression. So we'll just type in something like time times, and then the amount of degrees that it will be rotating every single second. So this could be, let's say, 7 degrees. And really you have to play around with this. You can see that's quite slow. So we may want to go for something like 20 or 25. And now you can see we have a bit more rotation. And you just want to take this and copy it. Select all of the other layers and press R as in rotation. And here we just want to Alt Option click every single one of these and type in a different value. So this could be negative 22. So it's in the other direction, as you can see. Then for the next one, maybe it's 33. And really, I just do this at random to sort of get a random result. So maybe negative 15 for this one. And you just want some diversity so they don't have the exact same speed. And you just keep on repeating this until you have added the rotation expression for every single one of these layers. So maybe this could be 31. And the last one should perhaps be negative. So that could be negative, let's say, 28. And now we have some different rotations, and you can see that all of these are moving at random, and therefore we'll get a random result. this is the point of time where you can go in and sort of alter the values. So let's say I want to give this a bit more rotation. I can do that. I could also add some more circles if that's what I wanted to do. Really, there's a lot of possibilities. Also, if I see something like this and I don't think it's rotated enough, I could just say that this should be 10 plus times 40. And you can see that it just has a bit more rotation at the very start. So I might put this at 40. And really, this is just to change everything up. But I think this is fine for now. So we'll go up to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and we'll just call this the Gaussian Blur, because we want to blend these shapes. And the way that we do that is by going to Effects and Presets, searching for the Gaussian Blur effect, and dragging that onto the adjustment layer. So here we'll just drag out the blur quite a bit. So we have these quite blurry shapes. So something like this. And then we can go into the main composition. And now we can turn up the opacity of the main circle again here. Just fit it up to 200%. And now we'll select the circles pre-comp. We'll search for the set matte effect. Drag that onto the layer. And here we'll select the take matte from layer to be the main circle. So that way it's contained within that circle. And right now it may not look that great, but we can go ahead and fix this by going into the circles. Here we may want to adjust the scale. So we'll select all of them and press S as in scale. Scale them up a bit. You can also duplicate some of these. So let's say you want a duplicate of this one. You can scale that up in particular. Maybe place it on top of the other ones right here. And then you can go to the rotation and just alter that expression. So perhaps this will be positive and it will be 19 degrees. So really this is just about playing around with these. We may even want to go in and just amp up that Gaussian blur so they really blend in with each other. And what we can do now is select the main circle and the circle, right click and pre-compose them and call this the main circle. Now we want to add some effects to make this look good. But before we do that, we need a background. So we'll go to Layer, New, Solid, and we'll just choose that beige color from up here, call it BG, and place that behind everything. Now we can also hide the colors for now. And now we want to really emphasize this circle, so we want to add some highlights and some shading so it really stands out from the background. So we can zoom in a bit just to see what we're working with. Then we'll go to Layer, Layer Styles, and here we'll just select the inner glow. So you can see we have a bit of a rim light here, and we really just want to exaggerate this. So we'll go down to the size and just increase it right here. And now you can go up and instead of blending it with the screen, you can blend it with overlay. And this is just really to make the color sort of pop more, and I like this a bit more than the other option. And you can play around with the opacity if you like. Maybe you want a bit more highlighting, or you want a bit less. That's really up to personal preference. So now we want to add the shadow, and we do that by going to Effects and Presets, searching for the drop shadow, and just applying that to our main circle. So you can see it adds a bit of a drop shadow, but we want a bit more distance. We also want some softness. And because the light is hitting from the top left, we really want it to be pushed down here. Just add a bit more softness, and we don't really want it to be that visible. So the opacity should only be something like 15 or maybe 10. And really you just have to play around with these settings a bit to make it look like you want it to look. And this is also by adjusting the opacity and really just putting it all the way down because we don't want it to be that visible. And now to really make the background pop, we'll go to the background layer, go to Effects and Presets, and here we'll search for the gradient ramp. So add that onto the layer. Here we'll just disable it so we can color pick that background color for both of them, like this. And then the start color, we'll just make that a bit lighter. And the end color, we'll make that a bit darker, like this. So give it a bit more contrast. And just a bit darker, sort of like this. And then instead of having it going from the top to the bottom, we'll make it diagonal. So the light should be coming from here, and then it should be the darkest down here. So we just want something like this, and we can try and play it back just to see what we have gotten so far. So as you can see, this looks great. and we'll go ahead and add the text animation. So we'll go to Window, then we'll go to the Juice Pack Manager, just open that up. So if you want to buy this package, you can go down in the description and there'll be a download link, and that way you can also support my channel. Then we'll go down and find the text animation package, open that up. So as you can see, it loads up 20 different text animations. Here's the first one, that's a box drop, so that's quite a simple one. There's some more complex ones. And if we go further down, you can also see that we have some sort of hot or some glitchy ones. There's actually one where there's glitches applied on top of it. So I think that should be all the way down here, as you can see. So this is also quite cool. And really there's just a bunch of different options, and then you can go in and adjust the settings for all of these presets so you can make them your own. So what I'm going for is something quite simple to match this animation. So I'll just go for the box drop. But before we can use this, we need to create the text. So I'll select the text tool, click, and then I'll type in my text. So that's going to be abstract. And in this case, I'm using a font called Champion, and I'm using the bantamweight, so the lightest version, and this is just a very condensed font. So I'll just make it a bit larger, and then I'll try to align it in the center here. So after I've done that, I'll just select the box drop preset and double click it, and it will just apply it to my text. So you can see it goes through it and creates this pre-comp. So if I play it back from the start here, you can see that we have this animation. And now we can close down the pack manager and sort of adjust this preset. So I'll go to the very start, then I'll right click, go to time, enable time remapping, and I'll just find the point where the text animation is done, so right around here, and add a keyframe. And I perhaps want to drag it out a bit so the text animation lasts a bit longer. Then I select the keyframes and press F9 to easy ease them. Go into the graph editor, and here you can see I'm working with the value graph, and I really just want to make it happen fast at the start and then de-accelerate. So you can see in terms of value, it moves really fast at the start and then it sort of slows down a bit. So we can try and play around with this, play it back. So as you can see now, it's a lot quicker at the start and then it slows down. So now I just want to copy the colors and go into this pre-comp with the text and adjust some of these settings. So as you can see, there's this controller layer, and here I can select the colors. So I just want the main color to be white, but the second color, I want that to be the same as our blue that we have in our color palette here. So I can just select that right here. And then if we go through this, so I just have to zoom in here, there's a few settings in terms of the glow and the tracking. So if you see here, I turn down the glow, you can just see that the text, or especially the blue part, doesn't glow as much. And I really just want that to be 0 because I don't want any glow in this animation. Now the tracking is just how far the letters are apart, but I really just want them to be up close. And then the line spacing doesn't really matter because we just have one word here. So I can go back into the main composition, and now I want to animate the circle to be very large at the start and then scale down. So I'll go to the start, select the main circle, then I'll press S as in scale and add a keyframe. I can just drag this out. And then at the start here, I'll just scale it up so it fills the entire frame. And because it's already blurry in here, you don't really notice that the quality is going down. So I'll select the two keyframes, press F9 to easy ease them, go into the graph editor, and just make it de-accelerate. So have it quick at the start and then de-accelerate. And this may not be enough, so we can add a keyframe here in the middle. Just drag that a bit more to the left, drag it down and adjust sort of graph, so it's just really accentuated here at the start. And as you can see, the animation just happens quicker. And now we want it to distort a bit because right now it's pretty clean around the edges and we don't want that. It has to be a bit abstract. So we'll select all of the layers that are contained within the circle, right click and pre-compose, and just call this the animation main. Then we'll go to effects and presets and search for the turbulent displays. Just drag that onto the layer. And here we really want the size to be quite large and the amount to be quite small. And when we do this, you could say that the displacement is not that detailed because we have made it so large in sort of the size and just lowered the amount. And as you can see, if we were to drag this up, it still isn't that detailed, but if we were to drag the size all the way down to, let's say, 20, you can see that it's much more granular, the sort of displacement here, and that's not really what we want. So we'll just go back to what we had before. Then we'll Alt Option click the evolution, type in time, and then times, let's go for maybe 75. So this is just sort of animating the turbulent displays, and this can be way too much. I don't know that yet, but we'll just sort of take a look. So as you can see, maybe the animation speed is a bit too extreme, so we'll put it to something like 45. But also the amount of displacement or the scale of the displacement is also too much. So we'll just lower these sort of values and we'll try and play it back again. And as you can see now, it's a lot more subtle and it looks a lot better. We just have that tiny bit of distortion that we wanted. And now we can really try to make this entire animation pop. So go in and adjust the colors. The first thing I'm going to do is create a vignette. And what this essentially does is that it takes these sort of corners and makes them darker, and that way you sort of focus more on the center of the animation. So we'll enable the colors, go to Layer, New, Solid. We'll just call this a vignette, and then we'll pick that dark brownish color, click OK. We just disable the colors again, and now we want to sort of mask this out because we don't want it to be dark all over the screen. So we'll go up to the ellipse tool here and just double click. And that creates a perfect circle because we have this square composition. And instead of add, we'll just select the subtract. So we have the dark edges. And now we can go ahead and open up this mask. And then we can adjust the feather. So the more you feather, you can see the more it just evens out that sort of vignette. So we want quite a lot. And now we have to adjust the blending mode. And if you don't see this, you can go to toggle switches / modes and just click on that. And we'll go for the overlay option here. And that way you can just see that it really ups the sort of contrast and saturation instead of just making it darker. So this is just a bit more interesting to look at. Then we'll press T as in opacity, and we can just lower this so it isn't that extreme. So you can see this is with and this is without. So this just really helps to focus on the center of the animation. And now we can go ahead and make some adjustments to the overall colors. So I'll go to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and we'll just call this CC as in color correction. And when we go to the effects and presets, we'll just search for the curves. So the curves is just an easy way to adjust the colors and the contrast. And I don't really want to do that much. I just want to make a point here in the center and drag it down a bit to just really emphasize that contrast. So you can see this is with and this is without. And you can go even further with this and search for the brightness and contrast. Drag that onto the layer and you can just add a tiny bit more contrast if you'd like. And you can also turn down the brightness or you can turn it up a bit if you'd want. So you can see this is with and this is without. So this may be a bit extreme and you may not even want to use this effect. So I just want to make it very subtle. And now you can see with the color correction we have done, this is with and this is without. So that's really just emphasizing the colors and the contrast in this animation. And we can try and play everything back. So as you can see, right now it's quite boring at the start because of the way that it enters the frame. And also it just stops moving all of a sudden, and that's also boring. So we can start out by adding a tiny bit more of displacement like this. Then we'll go to effects and presets and search for the optics compensation. Drag this onto the layer. And if you increase this, it has to be quite high. You can just see that it sort of looks like this fisheye effect. But if you reverse it, you can see it sort of distorts towards the edges. So we can go to the very start, set this to something like 140, add a keyframe, press U to see that sort of keyframe, and just go a bit ahead to where we want to show everything again. And we just set it to 0. So that way we take the keyframes, press F9 to easy ease them, go into the graph editor, and we just want it to decrease more at the start, and then sort of de-accelerate in that animation. So maybe something like this. So as you can see, this is maybe happening a bit too quickly. So we can essentially just drag it out and maybe increase it here at the start and try and preview it again. And that way you can just see that you get a lot more interesting result here towards the end. And if you really wanted to, you can also add a bit of scale animation to the entire thing. So just select the layer, press Shift and S, add a keyframe, go to the very end, and then you can just scale it down as much as you'd like. So maybe go around 80, and you can just play back the entire thing to see what you've gotten. And as you can see, we just have a lot more movement throughout the entire thing because we have that subtle scale animation. And in my opinion, it really just does a lot and really adds a lot to the entire animation. If you want to support the channel, you can go and download the Ajuice text animation package. There'll be a link down in the description. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, post a comment down below, and tell me if you have any questions for this tutorial or any suggestions for future tutorials. If you create anything from this, make sure to share it with me on Instagram at Oliver Randorf, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to get notified when I upload future videos. That's all for now, till next time.